Morning, Rabbi.
Happy Chanukah. We are learning Mishnah Gittin, Parak Dalet, Chapter 4, Mishnah Dalet, Mishnah 4. Eved, Shanishba Ufada'uhu. A slave that was taken captive. There was a raiding army, and they took him captive. Upada'uhu. And other Jews redeemed him, ransomed him. Now, the case here is that the owner, the master of the slave, had already given up hope of recovering him. It's called Yush. And once he gives up hope from recovering him, he basically loses his rights of ownership, and anyone may take it. It's like if something is a lost object and you have Yush from it, you give up on it. So somebody else who finds it can keep it. So here too, by the master giving up hope of getting his slave back, that results in his losing the ownership of the slave, according to the letter of the law. Now, so now the story continues. So this Eved was taken captive, and he was redeemed not by the master but by other Jews. Im lashum Eved, if when they redeemed the slave, they did it so that he should now become enslaved to them, meaning another Jew redeemed him with his intention of ransoming him from to be his slave. Im l'shum ben chayrin, or let's say they ransomed him to free him. Lo yishtabed, he is not enslaved. So even if the person who ransomed him with the intent of acquiring him as a slave, because don't forget, we're talking about where the original master gave up hope. And now, if so, it would seem that the new master can go ahead and theoretically take him as a slave. So the Mishna actually says, the Mishna says that if he redeemed him to make him his slave, then he becomes enslaved. If he redeemed him to be a free man, then he's not enslaved. He's not enslaved to the original owner because the original owner gave up hope, and therefore he relinquished his ownership. And the person who ransomed him to be free. Didn't ransom him in order to acquire him. And therefore, the halacha is he's free. Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel, and being free means that now he has the status of a ger, right, of a Jew, of a convert. Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel says, "Bein kach ubein kach yishtabed." Nope. Either way, he has to be enslaved. Meaning, even if the person who ransomed him went ahead and ransomed him to be a free man, yishtabed. Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel says he shall be enslaved. To whom? Who shall he be enslaved to? The original master. So even if you, according to Rabbi Gamliel, even if the person who ransomed the slave ransomed him to be his slave, or he ransomed him to be a free man, the halacha is yishtabed. The halacha is, even though the original master gave up hope of recovering him, the sages decreed that the slave be returned to him. Why? Why did they make this special? Why did they institute this law? Because clear, according to the letter of the law, shouldn't be this way. This is a institution of the sages for a specific purpose, and the purpose is, as they bring down here, in order to prevent other slaves from surrendering to raiding armies and thereby escape the control of their masters. That's what we're afraid of. We're afraid that if he's going to not be enslaved to the original master, then other slaves may take opportunity that when raiding armies come, which were not uncommon in those days, that they'll basically give themselves up to those armies to get away from the original master. So let me read you what they say here on the bottom. A slave would certainly surrender to a raiding army if he thought that someone might redeem and free him. And even if he thinks that the Redeemer will take him as his own slave, he would still want to surrender to the army if he dislikes his current master.
Say that again.
Even if he thinks that the Redeemer will take him as his own slave, he would still want to surrender to the army if he dislikes his current master. Meaning, in his mind, according to Rabbi Gamliel, you have to be concerned that what he's going to do is he's going to give himself up to these armies. Someone's going to come and redeem him. And whichever way he's redeemed, it's going to be okay. It's going to be better for him than it was before. If the person redeems him to be free, he'll be free. If the person redeems him to be his slave, anything better than the old guy. and therefore he's going to go ahead and intentionally give himself up. To discourage slaves from surrendering in order to illegally release themselves of their master's ownership, the sages decreed, according to Gamliel, that he must be returned to his original master. That's the rule. Now, what they also bring down very interestingly is, if the other Jews redeemed him to be their slave, the original master must pay them his value when they return him. If, however, they redeemed him to set him free, the original master does not have to pay them anything because they laid out their money without expecting anything in return. Meaning, according to Gamliel, so these people redeemed him, and what happens? He goes back to the original guy. So we say, well, if they redeemed him to keep him, then the original guy has to compensate them. He has to pay, basically, he has to pay the value, what does it say here? Must pay them his value, must pay the value of the slave. It's like he has to, it's almost like he's buying, it's almost like he's buying the slave back from them. That's what the Chachamim tell you to do if what happened here was that they redeemed him in order to keep him, and the Chachamim say, no, you got to give him back to the original master. But if, let's say, they redeemed him to free him, which means they were never expecting anything back for the money that they used, then even if he goes to the original master, nothing comes to them. Because when they redeemed him knowing they're not going to make anything out of it, or thinking they're going to have something from it. And therefore, in that case, when it goes back to original master, meaning they redeemed him in order to free him, the original master doesn't have to give them back anything when they have to give them back to him. Okay, we are going to stop here, and we'll continue tomorrow, Mitzvah Shem.
So, what?
Have a wonderful day.
Thank you, Rabbi. So,